Good morning. The show that I was planning for today, of course, has been postponed. We'll probably air it next week because of what happened in Florida yesterday. Once again, we are talking about a massacre at a high school, and 17 people are dead, 14 are wounded, because once again, someone who was known by not only the school, but by the FBI, went in and shot up the school. I was listening all morning, that's why the show is late, to the accounts from these young children. And they are children, 14, 15, 16 years old, in tears, recounting how they saw teachers dead. They saw their best friend die. 2 young girls died holding each other's hands. They're dead. They're never coming home again. And why? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. And it continues to make us angry, and we continue to do nothing about it. Let me give you some statistics. In Vietnam, in 10 years, 58,000 servicemen, men who were trained to go to war. They were in a war, sent there by our country. 58,000 American soldiers died in Vietnam in 10 years. In this year alone, 58,000 people are estimated that they will die from gunfire. And we're not in a war zone. We're not at war here in America, or are we? When you hear the videos that these children recorded as their school was being shot up, as they were hunkering down, trying to avoid being shot in their classroom, and you hear the bam, 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 it reminds you of the video that we saw on the news of the Iraq War, of what goes on in Syria, in Iran, in Afghanistan. But we're in America, and we're in a high school, and it becomes a war zone. Now, I'm going to start this by saying right now, put your thumbs away, you gun nuts out there who believe that you should be able to have any kind of gun you want, anytime you want. No government's going to tell you you can't have a gun. It's your right. It's your Second Amendment right. Well, what about my right? What about the children I love? What about the children that go to school every day? What about their right to grow up? To go to school without fear? I think that right kind of is a little bit more important than your right. And let me ask you this, because I've got a lot of new people watching this show since the last time I talked about this, which sadly was not all that long ago. Why do you need a military-grade weapon to go hunting or to defend your home and your person? See, I'm wearing my Marine shirt today. My husband served in the Marine Corps for 8 years. And when we bought our legal gun, our 9mm, he showed me how to use it. And he said to me, you only need 1 bullet, because if your first bullet misses, you're dead. Now, we didn't buy our gun because we felt unsafe in our home or because we wanted to shoot people. We bought it for target shooting. We wanted to go out together and do something fun together, and it was fun to target shoot, but my husband showed me how to use this gun. And what he said to me is, you only need 1 bullet. So why are we selling guns to people with 250 rounds, with these bullets that are this big? Why are we selling AR-15s? You don't need them for hunting, because guess what? If you use an AR-15 to go hunting, you ain't going to get no meat, and you're certainly not going to be able to put that big deer head with its antlers on your wall. Because when you shoot an AR-15 at a deer, the deer's going to explode. And unless you want to pick scraps up off the ground to go home and put on the barbecue, You're not getting no meat. You don't need an AR-15 for hunting. And you certainly don't need an AR-15 to defend your home or your property from an intruder, because as I just said, if you miss with the first shot, you're dead anyway. You only need one bullet aimed properly to defend your home and your property. And let me tell you something else, and you're not going to want to hear this, and they only said it once on the news last night. But it's something you all need to hear, because these are children. They are high school children, 14, 15, 16 years old. And this brave coach who actually threw himself in front of 2 female students, and he took the bullets that were meant for them, and he is dead. These parents are going to have closed caskets at their 14, 15, 16-year-old children's funerals. Why? Because their faces were blowing off. These parents are going to be identifying their children at the morgue by the clothes they were wearing when they left home that day, clothes that are now probably saturated in their children's blood. You need to hear that, all you people who say, Second Amendment. And we're going to talk about another amendment too, because a lot of balls were dropped in here. A lot of red flags were raised that were ignored. But everybody is saying, oh God, no, let's just send thoughts and prayers to the victims. You know what? We've sent too many thoughts and too many prayers to too many victims. And it makes me sick. It makes me sick that the most dangerous public place to be in America today is a public school. Imagine that. That it is more dangerous to go to school than to get in a car with a drunk driver. There are more people killed in school by mass shooters than by drunk drivers, than by secondhand smoke. You know, these gun nuts, they're like, I have a right. I'm allowed to buy a gun. I can buy a gun anywhere I want. It's my right. I love guns. I'm a gun lover. Well, I love to smoke. I love cigarettes. But I'm not allowed to smoke them anywhere in public, and certainly nowhere around children. Hell, you're not even allowed to smoke a cigarette in a car with a child under the age of 18. I love to drink, but I'm not allowed to get in my car while drinking because I may kill somebody. You don't need these big-ass guns with these big-ass magazines to protect yourself and your family or to go hunting. This, before we even learned anything about this monster, and we don't say the name, and this monster's alive. I wish he were dead, to be very honest with you, but he's alive, and we don't say his name here at Political Paula because that's what he wants. And we know he wants it because he advertised all over the place what he was going to do. Nobody heard. Nobody listened. One person listened. They called the FBI when they saw on his Facebook or on his YouTube page, I'm going to be a professional school shooter. And somebody saw this and they contacted the FBI and they contacted YouTube. And the FBI, instead of going to this guy's house, he was using his real name, by the way, his actual name. They went to visit the person who reported him, and they had a chat. Do you know this guy? Well, no, I just saw the post. I did what, if you see something, say something. So the FBI did nothing. They took the name down. They had it on their list and of things to do, and I guess they were too busy. Or they decided, now there's another amendment, the first amendment, well, you have the First Amendment right, I guess, to threaten to shoot up your school. Because this happened in September. This monster posted on social media, he posted pictures of all the guns he had, and then he said, I want to be a professional school shooter. And nobody did anything. The FBI knew about it. This guy who reported the YouTube post to the FBI, he saw the FBI in September, and then he didn't see them again until, guess what, yesterday, after the carnage was done, after 17 people were dead. The FBI contacted him again. What, 6 months later? It's unbelievable, isn't it? This monster was expelled from his school. All the teachers knew he was angry. Many people knew he was angry. Many people knew he was a little nuts. And yet, nobody was warned. The parents weren't warned. Letters weren't sent home to the parents that if your child sees this person around the school, they need to contact the authorities. No warnings were put out. Now we're hearing that this monster has had a tough life. His adopted father died. His mother just died. Wah. Got expelled from school. Wah. Let's shed a tear. Okay, I'm done. And I'll tell you why I'm done. Because, we're teaching our kids, this generation, and maybe the one before it, we teach them reading. We teach them math. We teach them science. We teach them history. We don't teach them how to cope with disappointment and failure that is going to come, because it happens to everyone. In this society, in America today, if you get fired from your job, you don't just go out and start looking for a new job. You get an AR-15 and you go back to the job that fired you and shoot everybody. That's how people in our society today are taught to handle their issues. Someone did me wrong. Let me just go buy an AR-15 and kill a lot of people. I'll get even with them. You get someone at school calls you a bad name or doesn't let you sit with them at lunch, or you get expelled, or you get an F. You don't try to work harder. You don't take it with a grain of salt and pick up yourself by your bootstraps and go and get better. You just go get an AR-15 and shoot up the school. That's what we're teaching our kids today. That you solve your problems by killing innocent people. That's a problem. Problem for me. And I'm not a parent. I cannot imagine the feeling in the heart of every parent when they kiss their children goodbye in the morning and put them on a school bus or send them off to school. And you don't know if they're coming back. Or you don't know if they're coming back different. Paralyzed by a gunshot wound to the back. Traumatized for the rest of their life. You hear the children talking about what happened yesterday, and they're sobbing. Talking about how they saw their teacher dead on the floor with blood everywhere. We heard the videos, bang, 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 and kids screaming. Calling their parents, I love you. I don't know if I'm ever going to see you again. Parents frantically racing to the school, looking for their children, only for some to see others reunited with their children while they stand alone. And then they realize, our baby's not coming home. Our baby's not coming out. Because our baby's dead. And then you go to the morgue, and your baby doesn't have a face anymore. So for all you gun lovers out there, hey, go for it. Go for it. But you remember, think in your mind and pray that you never have to identify your child or your loved one by the clothes they were wearing when they said goodbye to you in the morning. Because they no longer have a face. Pray that none of you ever have to bury your 14-year-old child before they even graduate high school. Pray that you don't have to have your child in counseling for the rest of their lives because of what they witnessed when their school was the latest in a long line. And I'm a cynic. I'm a cynical person. I'm cynical because of what happened to me personally and because of what I see every day on the news. And I know that we're not going to do anything. Congress isn't going to do anything this time. Because, remember Sandy Hook? 25-year-olds were executed in their classroom, and we didn't do anything. So why should we expect anything to be done now? We shouldn't. I'll tell you, one of my viewers, Sparky, just posted something on Facebook. And it said, why don't we employ, there are so many unemployed veterans who have spent their careers over in foreign countries, saving foreign children, protecting foreigners. And they come home and they don't have a job. They're living on assistance. We treat our veterans terribly in this country. I bet they would love to be hired by public schools to stand watch at the doors, armed to defend American children for a change. But guess what? Ooh, school districts say that's too expensive. These same school districts that provide free breakfast and lunch for even the richest of their students so that the poor kids don't feel bad when they qualify for free lunch. So everybody gets a free lunch, a free breakfast. Schools that have to spend money on English as a second language teachers so that illegal children coming into this country, going to school, feel comfortable that someone can talk to them in their own language. We'll spend money on all of that, but we won't spend money to have United States military veterans protect our children. I've got a lot of notes. Please forgive me. I usually don't read from notes, but this is such a horrible day, and it came on so suddenly. And I think I basically covered everything. All I'm going to say to you is this. We just started Lent yesterday, and I was going to do kind of a funny show on Lent, but it's not funny anymore. I basically always say I give up Lent for Lent if I don't do Lent. But Lent means supposedly you're supposed to give something up, okay, for 40 days, something that you really are going to miss. I say I don't think that's right. I don't think we should be giving something up for Lent to prove to God how much we love him or how good of a Christian we are. I think we should be giving something out, not giving something up. And what I was going to propose during my Lent show was that we reach out to someone who is different than we are, someone who's different. Say a Muslim. Shake a Muslim's hand, get to know them. A gay person, a black person if you're white, a white person if you're black. Reach out and introduce yourself to someone that you normally might criticize or might be critical of or may not agree with their lifestyle. Show some love. Instead of giving up something, give love. Give something of yourself. And you know, today might be the day to do that, considering that this massacre happened on Ash Wednesday and on Valentine's Day. A day about love and starting to sacrifice for the 40 days of Lent, leading up to the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. Maybe this is the time. And you know, as far as our First Amendment goes, you do have rights to say and speak whatever you want. The First Amendment is important to me. However, Kathy Griffin, the comedian, when she held up a mannequin, a fake beheaded Donald Trump, the Secret Service paid her a visit. When you go in for a job, your employer looks through your social media accounts. That's what we talked about a few weeks ago. We said, you know, when you go for a job, a lot of people sanitize their Facebook accounts because they know their employer is going to look at that before hiring them. You have a First Amendment right, but you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. You can't threaten the President of the United States, or the Secret Service and FBI will knock on your door. So why in the world would this monster in September be allowed to get away with saying, I'm going to be a professional school shooter? and the FBI not just pay him a little visit, they call it a knock and chat. Knock at the door, let him know they know who he is. I would think it'd be probable cause for a search warrant, since he's showing all these guns. You know, we all cherish our freedom to bear arms, our freedom to buy guns, our freedom to go hunting with our kids, and our freedom to speak freely. We can criticize our government, we can criticize our president, but you're not allowed to threaten him. And yet, apparently, the First Amendment does cover threatening school children, because that's exactly what this monster did in September. He threatened to shoot up his school. The FBI knew it. They did nothing. It is time, of course, now to send our condolences. I'm not sending thoughts and prayers because it doesn't matter now. But our condolences to those who lost loved ones in Parkland, Florida. And also send a message to our government, to Congress, who keeps saying this isn't the time to discuss this. When is the time? Our president is going to speak right as this show airs on Facebook at 11 o'clock. Well, that's great. He has ordered that all the flags in Washington be lowered at half-staff. Well, you know what, Mr. Trump, you might as well keep them there. Because until something is done, both about the gun laws in this country and the mental health issues in this country, just keep the flags at half-staff, because in a week or two or a month, it's going to happen again. It's almost guaranteed. Until we change our views. You know, I talk to my viewers in England, in Canada. I got viewers all over the world, and they ask, they're like, how does this happen? This doesn't happen in our country. Only America has the distinction of having the most unsafe public schools, the most unsafe college campuses, because of our guns, our obsession with guns. And it's time to do something about it. So you know what? You can sit at home and say prayers for the victims and donate money to pay for their funerals, their closed casket funerals, because again, faces blown off by bullets this big, hitting 14-year-olds. The brave coach who died saving his students. You can send money, you can pray, you can put all those cute little things on Facebook. We love you, we stand with Parkland, all that crap. Or you can write to your congressman, or you can talk with your vote. You can tell the NRA that you don't want guns banned in this country, but that the right to bear arms stops when that right makes a child give up their right to grow up. Please, somebody out there do something. I'm not in Congress. I'm not in the government. All I can do is talk with my vote. And if I see something, I can say something. But in this case, somebody did see something, and they said something. They didn't get hurt. Now we have a lot of closed casket funerals coming up in Parkland, Florida. God help us all as a nation if we can't even send our children to school and expect them to come home safe. Political Paula, out.